All right, let's talk about something that's all around you every single day, shaping your world in ways you might not even realize. We're diving into Texas local government.
I want you to just picture this for a second. An emergency happens. Something's wrong. You desperately need help, but there's no 911, no number you can call to get someone on the way.
And say a crime happens, or you have a serious dispute with someone. There's no sheriff's department, no police, nobody to investigate or keep the peace. Or a fire starts, you hear no sirens, you see no flashing lights in the distance. There's no team of professionals rushing to help.
It sounds like a scene from an old frontier movie, right? Kind of like an Old Yeller, where it was just you and your neighbors against the world. And that really gets to the heart of why local governments were created in the first place.
Because pretty quickly, people realized they couldn't do everything all by themselves. They had to get organized. And this was the moment when communities decided to take charge of their own safety and their own future.
The solution was pretty logical, really. They decided to form a government right there, where they lived, to provide the essential services that everyone needed to survive and, build a real community.
And that's the core idea of what we're talking about today. Local government isn't some far-off thing in Austin or Washington, D.C. It's the group that paves your street, runs your local library, and makes sure the water coming out of your tap is clean.
Now, here in Texas, this all breaks down into three main types, and each one has its own specific job. So let's start with the biggest one. First up, counties. You can think of these as the original building blocks of government, laid out across the entire vast state of Texas. And get this, Texas has 254 counties. That is way more than any other state in the U.S. There's a cool reason for that, actually. The original Texas Constitution said you should never be more than a day's horseback ride from your county seat, so they had to make a lot of smaller counties instead of a few giant ones. And these counties handle the absolute fundamentals. We're talking about running the local courthouse and jail, keeping all those vital records like birth certificates, making sure our elections run smoothly, and of course, maintaining the roads that connect everybody. So here's the key point. No matter where you are standing in Texas, anywhere at all, you are inside a county. It is the one layer of government that covers every single inch of the state. But what happens when an area starts to grow? More people move in, and they start needing more services than a basic county government provides. Well, that's when people decide to form a city. And city governments handle the things you really associate with, city life. Dedicated police and fire departments, complex water and sewer systems, beautiful city parks. They also decide the rules for construction through permits and zoning. But not all cities are run the same way. You basically have two flavors. There's the mayor-council system, like in Houston, where the elected mayor is the clear leader. Then there's the council-manager system, where the elected council hires a professional city manager to run the day-to-day stuff. So how do these cities and counties actually make all their rules? Well, they pass something called an ordinance. That's really just a fancy word for a local law. Could be about anything, from parking rules to how tall a new skyscraper can be. Okay, so we've covered counties, we've covered cities. Now for the third piece of this local government puzzle, and it's a huge one, how we run our public schools. See, in Texas, public schools are run by what are called independent school districts, or ISDs. And who's in charge? It's an elected school board made up of regular citizens, your neighbors. They make all the big calls, from hiring the superintendent who runs the district to approving the entire budget. And speaking of that budget, you might be wondering, where does all that money come from? For the most part, it comes from property taxes. That's a tax that people who own homes or businesses in the district pay, and it's the main funding source for our local schools.
Okay, so we've got these three major players: counties, cities, and school districts. But how does this all come together and actually affect you? Let's connect some dots.
Just think about a normal school day. Your school district decides what time school starts and what you learn. The city government is the one that makes sure the road your bus drives on is in good shape. And behind the scenes, the county government is keeping all the official records about where you and your family live. They all play a part. This table really helps put it all in perspective. You've got the federal government, way up top, for the whole country. Then you have the state government for all of Texas. But right there, the closest one to you is local government, your city, your county, your school district. And that really is the most important thing to remember about all of this. It's the one you can actually reach. You can physically go to a city council meeting. You can email your school board member. Your voice can be heard so much more directly at this level. So that leaves us with a final question. This is your world. These are your rules. Now that you know how it all works,
What are you going to do to make your voice heard and help shape the community where you live? Thanks for tuning in.